Over 30 years ago, David Cronenberg reinvented a classic. Starring Jeff Goldblum as eccentric scientist Seth Brundle, Cronenberg gave a monster a heart and a lot of gross dissolved body parts. Now it is time to bring that concept into the future. That's right, it's time to remake The Fly right. Be afraid, my fellow cinematic architects, as we're about to remake The Fly right. We are a member of the Hollywood Outsider Network. You can listen to episodes of Remake This Movie Right on Apple Podcasts. Reviews are definitely appreciated. Your podcast app of choice, or just visit the website at RemakeThisMovieRight.com. Remake This Movie Right is a show that takes an original film that has an actual remake in the works, figure out what still clicks and what doesn't, throw a little bit of humor at it, and then we determine exactly how Hollywood should remake it. By the end of each episode, we will have the remake ready to roll for Hollywood execs and present it to you in movie trailer form. We're here to tell Hollywood how to remake this movie right. I'm your host, Darren Peterson, and joining me today, you know him as the voice of the Walking Dead cast, and he has a network of his own, and also from our Logan's Run episode, Jason Cabassi.
Hello. Glad to be back. It's been a while. Maybe a year? I don't even know.
Yeah, it's been a while. You know, that episode was huge on YouTube, on our YouTube channel.
Oh, that's nice. You know, while we were doing it, I thought, man, I'm full of bad ideas. And then I listened, and there were some good ones in there. So I was actually kind of surprised how well it came together by the end of it.
Our movie was so much better than what Hollywood did. And you remember her from Splash and Flatliners, Courtney Davenport?
Tell me truly, are you both wearing your finest stockings and ultra fine weave for this episode?
Yes.
If I was wearing anything, that would be it.
Mm-hmm.
No, that just made it weirder. I didn't know that was possible.
That could get weirder.
Come on, weird is our language around here.
This is a weird movie.
Can we talk about why they... Well, we don't need to talk about it, but why a stocking? Of all the things she had, why not the shoe? Why not something in her purse? Why did she go for the sexiest thing she could think of at that point?
Because it really kind of seemed like she was a little dubious of him up until that moment, and then some kind of a switch just flipped.
I was wondering the whole time why she even went home with him. I mean, I think his pickup line was, "I have a cappuccino machine." I'm like, well, that would have got me in the apartment, let me tell you.
And he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm going to bring you home and show you this, and you're a reporter, but don't tell anyone." And didn't bother to mention it was off the record or anything.
Exactly.
Right. He's a brilliant scientist, but he can't deduce that she's a journalist and she's about to write all of this up. And he's also he's so kind of douchey. When she walks into the apartment, he just starts playing piano for her. I'm like, oh my God, you're insufferable. You're like an insufferable hipster. Stop it.
He's
and
eccentric.
Jeff Goldblum improvised all of that, I heard. No, I'm just kidding. From his own life. But I will say, I mean, I don't want to trash on it too much because I did think that it was really cute to see them fall for each other and kind of circle around each other a little bit.
Well, we'll come back to that here. I want to tell people what this movie's about if you've never seen it.
I'm sorry.
No, it's all right. Now, there are two Fly franchises, really, primarily, but we're really talking about the 1986 Fly starring Jeff Goldblum as Seth Brundle, a brilliantly odd scientist who was working on teleportation, the act of moving matter from one isolated location to another on a molecular level. And after proving his experiment works to Gina Davis's Veronica, who is, like we said, an investigative journalist who happens to fall for Seth, he drunkenly decides to do human trials alone, which feels pretty dumb even for a scientist. But it works great, except for that pesky housefly that found its way in. Slowly we get Seth taking on the characteristics of a common housefly, reflexes, stamina, twitchy movements, stamina again. Veronica, she's pretty terrified and also pregnant. He comes crashing down once Seth kidnaps Veronica in an attempt to fuse them all together, and perhaps only her creepy ex-boyfriend Stathis can save them. He doesn't, but he does give Seth a hand with his experiment. So you shush it. So what do you guys think of... Courtney, what did you think of The Fly? Had you ever seen it before, or was that your first time?
This was not my first time, and I do have an interesting story about when I did see it for the first time. Actually, when, Aaron, you put up the bat signal about doing this remake, the text was read to me, and I had a physical reaction, which was much like putting my body into the fetal. because I remembered how gross this movie is at times. And I have a very clear memory of the first time I saw it, which was on VHS at one of my friends' houses when I was growing up. And we were just watching it one day. And of course, it's really gross, as we'll go into later. And then I toddle home. She lived down the street from me. And my mother made this chicken dish that she used to make all the time called chicken fricassee, which is like this white, creamy sauce all over the chicken with rice. And it's usually one of my favorite dishes. But I remember her putting that down in front of me that night going, no. Can't, no, Mom, I'm going to my room. No, can't do it. So, yeah, that's the first time I saw it, and I just remember it being really gross. And then I remember the Jeff Goldblum crouch in the fancy phone booth. Oh, you know what I'm talking about?
The nude crouch?
The naked crouch. Yeah. Naked crouch. How could you forget that?
I liked it. I'm not gonna lie. I liked it.
You're doing it this whole podcast, aren't you? I know you are.
I am. He looked ripped. Like in a couple scenes, he looked like he was just oiled up, and he'd been doing push-ups right before they shot it because he's like, "Yeah, bring that camera up." Oh,
that's right. That's right. Did you get the hair? Yeah, you like that, huh?
It's so good. What about you, Jason?
Yeah, I saw this when it came out as I was a teenager, and I liked it a lot. I remember the pods very clearly. I love the design of the telepods, and I think it was Jeff Goldblum's really first big starring role, so it was fun to see him for the first time because he's a very distinctive actor. And I think Gina Davis had been on Family Ties, so we knew about her already. I liked it a lot. One thing I really remembered was when he was climbing around on the walls. I always wanted a Spider-Man movie for the longest time, and it was tied up with James Cameron, he wanted to make it, but it was tied up. The rights were tied up somewhere else. And so I saw that, and I'm like, look, they could do it. They could totally do it. It looks just like Spider-Man when he's flipping around and climbing up the walls. So I really enjoyed that. And I was disappointed the most probably that he didn't turn into an actual just giant fly with big buggy eyes and even maybe the wings and fly around and stuff. I really wanted to see that.
a giant version of that?
Yeah, and just wait until you hear about my remake. But yeah.
Oh boy.
Oh my God. Man.
You mentioned this is one of Jeff Goldblum's earlier roles. I feel like this is the infancy of the Manic Goldblum, which is an acting choice I think he makes almost for the rest of his career. Manic Goldblum is there in Jurassic Park. Manic Goldblum is there in, did he do Criminal Intent? Is that the Law and Order he did?
All right. Was he on Law and Order? I didn't know Jeff Goldblum was on Law and Order. No, I didn't know that.
I thought he was on one of the Law and Orders, but the Manic Goldblum, that's an acting choice.
You know, when he's first spouting out a lot of different things, like he's just taken a couple of hits of coke and it's starting to worry her. I was wondering, is this more the real Jeff Goldblum or the humble guy that we saw at the beginning of the movie? I always wonder about him. He's an interesting character.
Have you ever seen him in an interview? That's Jeff Goldblum.
Yeah, that's him. I've seen him too. Yeah.
He did Mark Maron. I don't know if you guys ever listened to WTF, but
sometimes.
That's a great one with him on there.
I'll have to check that out. He's one of the most interesting actors of all time, in my opinion. He's a fascinating guy to watch. He's very quirky. And the fact that he ever got consistent leading roles boggles my mind. It's a good thing, though. I think he's a great actor. It just shocks me Hollywood, gave him the shots that they've given him. And he always knocks it out of the park. He's the best thing about that Resurgence garbage movie. So
and he did those Apple commercials.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot about that.
And he showed up on The League randomly as Ruxton's dad. That was hysterical. If you ever watched that show, he's just a funny guy. I really like him.
He's one of those guys like Christopher Walken, that has this super distinct mannerism. So you kind of know what you're going to get, but it's so entertaining that it's good.
The first time I saw it, I was definitely a kid, and I think I saw it on HBO. When I was in the 80s, man, HBO was where everything was, and I was astounded by the special effects. Astounded. I'd never seen anything that well done that was practical and just loved it. So that's really what stuck out for me. And I actually loved the original Fly. I love that movie. Help me. Loved it. And I think I was the only kid that I knew that had ever seen it. But I was really excited for this one because I love the original.
I don't even know if I did see it.
I did not see the original.
The 1958
can
one
I
with
say
Vincent
one more?
Price? Oh, yeah, you can say
You
one.
gotta watch it. Just one more thing that I really liked as you know, I watched back again. I don't know if I noticed this the first time, but David Cronenberg directed this, and he's famous for body dysmorphia in all his movies. And I really felt that like this movie is about fear of change in a relationship with someone else, but also in yourself. And all our bodies are changing because we're getting older. And actually, I lost 30 pounds in the last like 3 or 4 months. So that's kind of in a good way, but also I'm 46 years old and I can't do some of the same things that I could do in my 20s. And I feel like this movie is tapping in on our own fear of, or maybe even your people have a fear of being dismembered or something like that. Yeah. It's horrific, to think about. And this movie just keeps touching on that kind of thing over and over again. Like, oh, this guy's being irreparably damaged, and this woman that he loves has to stand there and watch. So it's like this tragic horror.
Yeah, I think
so it's effective.
When it came out in the 80s, there was a lot of people referring, I think it was Siskel and Ebert, somebody was drawing a parable to the movie and AIDS, because AIDS was an epidemic then, and saying that the movie was related to AIDS. Now, Cronenberg said, no, it's really about, like you said, the body and disease, and, as things corrupt your own body and you have no control over it. It was kind of like a parable to that. But I thought it was interesting that people leapt to the AIDS argument. Like they jumped to that. That was an interesting distinction, I guess.
Right. Just because it was so big in the culture at that time, so everyone was so aware of it.
Absolutely. All right. Well, please subscribe and review us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, whatever podcast app you use. And if you have your own pitch or thoughts on this week's show, you can always email it at remakeThisMovieRight@gmail.com. Here's a clip from the original The Fly.
I think you're making a mistake. I think you really want to talk to me.
Sorry, I have 3 other interviews to do before this party's over.
Yeah, but they're not working on something that'll change the world as we know it.
They say they are.
Yeah, but they're lying.
There is a limit, even to the imagination.
Human teleportation, molecular decimation, breakdown, and reformation is inherently purging.
Where our greatest creations meet our deepest fears.
Something went wrong, Seth. When you went through, something went wrong.
You are about to go beyond that limit.
Okay, I just want to paraphrase, not the original, the second original. It's the original. So.
The follow-up to the original.
There you go. Well, you guys ready for a couple trivia bits about The Fly?
Yeah.
Enough.
We got 2 for the original one, the 1958 version. Help me is often cited as one of the most famous quotes in movie history. Most people don't know where that comes from. It comes from the original Fly. And that film's financial success had the side effect of boosting co-star Vincent Price into a major horror star. He was really just more of a supporting character and more of a genre guy. He became a major star after this movie. Now back to this Fly. It grossed $60 million worldwide against a $9 million budget, becoming the largest commercial success of Cronenberg's career still.
Wow.
Yeah, that was 30 years ago.
He did that History of Violence.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was
a great movie.
A big one, but I guess this was even bigger.
It didn't make a ton of money. It was well received. Sequels aplenty. There is a Return of the Fly and Curse of the Fly for the original movie. And then there's The Fly 2, which I kind of liked. A lot of people hated it. I liked it. It was an interesting
I liked it. Eric Stoltz.
Yeah.
And what's her name? Daphne Zuniga.
Oh, Daphne Zuniga. What happened to her?
Yeah.
She's wondering the same thing.
She's wandering out in the desert with her large hairdryer.
The quote, "Be afraid, be very afraid." Most people don't even realize it comes from this movie, but
I didn't.
Yeah, it comes from the Fly. And do you know who created that term, that phrase? Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know.
Mel Brooks.
Wow.
Mm-hmm. Mel Brooks. He was a producer on the movie, and won the Academy Award for Best Makeup. Chris Wallace and his company are also responsible for the effects. They did Gizmo from Gremlins and the Melting Faces and Raiders of the Lost Ark. Not surprised that he won an award for this one.
Yeah, because I read that that Cronenberg was actually going to do a sequel in 2011, and he wrote a script or a treatment, and Mel Brooks didn't like it, so they didn't use it.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Ouch. How's that feel? How's that feel, David? There was an infamous cat monkey scene where Brundlefly fuses a cat and the remaining baboon and then beats it to death with a lead pipe, but it was cut following a Toronto screening because apparently the producer felt that no way would people remain sympathetic to Seth once he did that. They just lost all sympathy for his plight.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's rough.
Yeah, that's interesting because I was thinking I was wondering for my own remake, I'm not going to jump ahead too much, but whether things should be jumping out of this pod and attacking them. But then I guess, they would have to kill it, and that might be unsympathetic. Honestly,
if it looked like a cat baboon, I'd be okay with killing it. You know what I mean? Or whatever the hell it was. I'm fine with that.
Right, with claws and just generally.
There are a lot of people who love cats. You're going to make some enemies.
That's okay.
The internet is run by cats. What are you thinking?
They're all wrong. All right, so two more quick ones. In an interview, Vincent Price revealed that when this remake was released, Jeff Goldblum actually wrote him a letter saying, "I hope you like it as much as I liked yours," which is very, very kind. And Vincent Price was touched by the letter. He composed a reply and went to see the film, which he described as wonderful right up to a certain point when it went a little too far.
Oh, what a jerk.
Thanks a lot.
I was wondering how you guys would take it. I'm like, that's sweet until it stops being sweet.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's not fine anymore.
Yeah. You're so rude. Last one. Mel Brooks, who was a producer on the movie, didn't want people to know that he was a producer on the film because he thought people wouldn't take it seriously if they knew he was involved. He was right. When people did find out, he decided to make the most of it by handing out dealy boppers at the premiere.
What is a dealy bopper?
It's one of those things you put on your head and they have the fuzzy thing sticking out of it.
Yeah. It's like, I don't know how you would describe it, but like an arc shape that fits right over your head. And then it's goofy.
Like a headband?
Yeah, kind of.
Something like
that.
Except that's weird.
It's vertical instead of horizontal.
Mel Brooks, you're a quirky guy. All right, let's get to the original. What makes the movie so notable for you? What does work? Your favorite parts about it, Jason?
I like that it's simple, that it's a personal story, and they did as good of a job as you can do in a limited amount of time of getting these two characters to kind of fall for each other before one of them starts to change. And that felt tragic. And also just himself, Seth Brundle, such a nice guy when it starts out. I mean, a little quirky, a little eccentric, but seems like a good-hearted person. And then to see him undergo that, turn into an a-hole, first of all, but then just be confused and upset. It just worked on the level of a personal tragedy. And the fact that it was so gross, it was hard to look away. I was totally engaged the whole time.
All right, Courtney, what about you?
I think the thing that worked for me was something that we talked about earlier, which was Jeff Goldblum's performance. You could see that he was on the cusp of, stardom and sort of blowing up. And so I really liked him. I found him to be very compelling as the main character. And I know that this was groundbreaking in the movie makeup, in history of movie makeup. So that's really exciting to watch. I think I had read that there were 6 or 7 different steps to the entire makeup process, and they worked backwards to forwards. They developed the creature, and then they developed phases or stages that he would go to working backwards from just the way he would look on any given day. So that was fascinating to watch also.
Mm-hmm. And his performance, I like how it shifted. He got more twitchier and twitchier as it went on, and less human, but still kept his humanity up until even almost to the very, very end when he was just Mr. Fly Guy. You could still feel like there was a person in there.
Yeah, he was pretty fly for a white guy.
Now, Jason, I do disagree with you on the love story, though, but we'll get into that later.
Yeah, here in a second. Here shortly.
I'm open to disagreement on that.
I loved his performance. I think it's a very notable performance. I really believe he should have gotten an Oscar nomination. I know that's probably unheard of for a B monster movie, but I'm sorry. I thought he was that good. He made the character his own. I mean, you can't picture any other actor doing it. And to me, that's remarkable. And it's a remarkable achievement. Even when he's in the fly makeup and he's almost a fly, but he's still got Jeff Goldblum in there, you can see Jeff Goldblum's performance. And that's hard to do under all that. So
because his performance is his movements are so distinct.
Yes. Yeah. I picture, because he's such a quirky guy, I picture him actually studying houseflies, like getting 1,000 of them and just following them around the neighborhood. Hey, check that one out. Look what he's doing with his little hairs.
I would even say on the strength of his performance, the last 2 stages of The Fly, I believe when I read, were actually puppets and weren't him. You know, the last one definitely wasn't him.
Yeah.
Right.
But when you looked in the Fly's eyes, I feel like I could see him. And I think that's a strength of his performance all the way through the movie, that you feel that connection even in those last moments when really, I mean, that's a puppet.
Yeah.
It's a much deeper story too. For a movie like this, it's a really deep story, and I found that to be honestly a surprise, and a good surprise. I really thought that this was a deeper depth into meddling with science and that sort of thing than I was expecting when I first saw it.
Yeah, totally. And I think I kind of need that, especially with all the hundreds of movies I've seen now. If there's not some emotional depth to a story and it's all about the scares or explosions or whatever, then I'm just not interested. But this really held up for me. I probably haven't seen it in 10, 15 years.
Yeah, same here. It's been a long time.
Long time.
All right, so what doesn't work? Courtney, you were ready. What doesn't work for you?
I am ready. So the character of Veronica is just so milquetoast. She has no agency at all. She just, wanders into his apartment, starts a relationship with him. Then there's the creepy boss guy that she just lets come in. I mean, he shows up in her apartment. He won't give her the key back, yet she'll still talk to him, and he winds up saving the day in the end. He could have been in there, filling up her DVR, watching, wearing all her underwear, and it's, it's okay. Don't worry about it. It's fine. She's like a piece of stale Wonder Bread in a lukewarm bowl of milk. I did not care for her character at all. And I didn't buy the love story.
I bought Goldblum and her. I don't get the boss thing. Because at some point, why aren't you calling 911? So that whole story just did not work for me at all. Because even then it was creepy.
One thing I liked about the guy is when you first see him, it seems like he's going to end up being the bad guy that they're kind of teaching you to hate, so that when the fly kills him, you won't feel too bad. But then the character turned out not to be such a caricature. He was sleazy, but you could tell by the end that he really did care for her and missed her and was a real person, and he helped. So I thought that was an interesting twist on the typical sleazy guy in a horror movie character. But as far as their relationship, I mean, for one thing, Gina Davis and Jeff Goldblum, I feel like they have chemistry. That helped for me. But second,
they were married later on.
Oh, I didn't realize
they got married.
They look like they could be brother and sister.
Yeah, he got out of the job because he was dating her. That's a fact. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they married shortly after the movie came out.
They must have hit it off. I do agree. At least I think I heard you kind of suggest this, that she didn't really serve much of a function except to help explain his character. She was just kind of the girl. Except I did feel like, once he started changing and turning into a jerk, then you do kind of move over and start identifying more with her. Like, oh God, she just met this guy and now he's turned to this, and she knows he's a good person and it's not his fault, but it's what's she going to do? So I felt the center of the movie sort of did move over to her at some point. And I don't know if that's worth anything, but
no, it is. I did have a hard time when she comes back to the loft, and he obviously had a little friend over, like 20 minutes after she left the night before or whatever. And she's just like, man, I'm so disappointed in you. Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Derek.
Again, no agency. And also she goes, when he starts to turn and his ear falls off, she goes to hug him. Come on now. That would not be happening.
That's love.
She'd be like, let me put on some gloves and a trash bag and a hazmat suit, and then I might look at you, but don't cross your fingers.
Yeah. Or when she hesitated on shooting him at the end when he was basically just this grotesque creature begging to be shot, and she's like, I can't do it. I'm like, just kill him. I mean, she did, so that was good.
Oh, man, I would just would have pulled the trigger. Like, the thing wouldn't even raise the head, and I just would have shot.
Right.
Well, and speaking of the end, moving on to other things that I don't think work very well. What is the guy's name again? The boss's name? Is it? I keep thinking it's Stannis.
Stathis.
Like Stannis Baratheon.
Yes.
Stathis.
Sorry, Stathis. Yeah.
He should be screaming his head off at the end. He had his leg cut off and I think his arm. And he's just chilling up against the weird phone booth pod looking thing. He's just chilling. He's fine. He has enough wherewithal to reach for the gun and everything. No. He should be screaming his head off.
I agree with that. That's some serious shock right there. Where's my hand and my foot? Where? What?
Darn it.
He's like, I can't reach for this gun right now because I am caught up in the fact that I have no foot and no hands. I have more. I have 2 more things.
That's funny.
I had similar feelings that I did when we did the Flatliners remake as well. Where is all this equipment coming from? Where does he get all this scientific equipment, the stuff to build the pods, and the baboons? Where is he getting baboons? Did he just order them on 1980s DOS Amazon? Where do you get baboons?
Well, in the second movie, they actually do explain all that. So I don't want to spoil it for anybody that might want to check that one out, but there is like a mysterious benefactor kind of thing. But in this movie, you're right. They don't tell you where the money's coming from. It's a secret.
Yeah. And he has like that computer system. I want to call it DOS Google because he keeps asking it questions and it answers back.
That was great.
Yeah.
It works now. Just so you know, that can happen.
I suppose. And then the last thing that really cracked me up has to do with Veronica when she snips the hairs from his back. In my memory, I can't remember if that was the night that he had the guest over.
No,
but
it wasn't.
She goes away for one evening.
Maybe
and then
was.
she comes back and she says, I had the hairs analyzed in 12 hours. Where'd you bring them to have these analyzed? Did you bring them to what expert? The Samuel Tarley of fly hair analysis? Like, how did you get these analyzed?
Sometimes you just got to buy into things. It's science fiction. Yeah, that's what happened. Super lab. She's got a super lab on the moon.
She brought them to Sherlock, and Sherlock just knew that they were fly hairs, or insect.
Yeah.
She said insect hairs.
Insect.
Yeah, they said you're a fly.
Well, now, if they would have said that directly, then we would have had something to talk about. Goldblum was like, well, insect is a little vague, all right?
Right, come on.
I'm a scientist. I need definitive results. That's what I need. By the way, I got to go get me another barkeep, so I'll be right back. I need a floozy.
Just a couple of things. So, yeah, the dated computer interface stuff, voice recognition and all that. I mean, the way it was enacted where if it doesn't recognize your voice, suddenly it just decides to print it out 30 times on the screen for some reason. And then just the science-y talk about why the experiments didn't work or what the machine was doing or, I think it all sounded very amateurly written when they would talk about science. So I think they can do better now to make it sound like they're actually talking about something. And then the guy is too much of an idiot when he invites the reporter over and doesn't expect her to report on it. And then, of course, he gets into the machine and tests it out on himself. That just seemed pretty dumb for a guy who's smart enough to do all this other stuff. That didn't make sense to me. And then the last thing is that I just wish that he would turn into an actual fly.
Such a weird problem there. What's such a weird thing to focus on? Well,
I mean, it's not the gerbil, it's the fly.
In the original movie, that actually happens, Like, that's...
Oh, good.
Well, I mean, it's 1958 effects, though, so don't get too excited. Like, really, don't get very excited. Do you think, as a guy, I mean, not to say that we're weak-willed, but we're fellow men, we're men, we could be pretty simple, like, hey, she's cute, so maybe she won't say anything. I'm just lucky I got this espresso machine, and I'm hoping I got a chance, so I'm just going to talk and impress the girl.
No, because he was at an event where she just turned him down because she needed to get stories from other people, and he was kind of like, well, I've got the biggest thing. And so she followed him home. I think that was under the pretext that she was going to get a story. And then when she started to record it, he seemed surprised. Like maybe he thought he could talk her out of it, but he just seems like, what are you doing? Why would you? Oh, one other thing too is I feel like, especially in a remake, like I said, I like that this is a simple and personal story, but maybe towards the end it could open up a little bit and get bigger. Because right now it feels almost like there could be another plot element thrown in there where you could see a little bit bigger set piece and more action with the fly or something like that.
That makes sense. I guess I didn't talk. My biggest problem with the movie, or my only real problem with it, is all the insecurity of the men in the movie. Like every one of them are so insecure, and it just ends up causing problem after problem. Jeff Goldblum is so insecure he gets drunk and thinks it's a good idea to hop in butt naked to his little machine that he just tested on an animal. That doesn't seem like something a smart guy does. And the other guy we're supposed to sympathize with in some way, even though he's a crazy stalker man. And I mean, there's nothing about him that doesn't scream danger, danger. You know, I mean, he's one step shy of an ice cream truck driver who kills people. He's just... all the guys in the movie have really serious flaws, and apparently they do stupid things because Geena Davis is just a stunning woman, I guess.
Well, and perspective is a funny thing because I focused on the Geena Davis character and how it seemed like she just had no self-esteem, no, hey, you brought another woman home, I'm out of here. You know, she sticks around until he becomes a gooey sweet potato. I don't understand her motivation at all.
Well, did she really stick around, or he kidnapped her? So
I suppose. I mean, but every step of the way, even her interactions with the boss and all of it just did not ring true to me.
That's fair. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Like a crazy fly guy took her, and she really didn't have an option but to be there.
Sure.
There was one moment right after he goes through the teleport machine when he's doing his gymnastics where it was like just the right amount of confidence. If he could have just stayed there, then he would have been a good guy.
Well, apparently he fused with the Mary Lou Retton of flies.
Yeah, that's right.
Flies are very acrobatic. Who knew? Who knew? All right. So should this movie even be remade, or should it be placed in don't touch status, Jason?
I say remake it.
All right, Courtney?
I actually, for the first time being on this podcast, I'm going to say no.
Really?
I don't think it should be remade. I think I may have enjoyed this viewing less than the two of you did. I have to confess that I spent the last maybe 10 minutes of the movie hiding behind my notebook and sort of peering at it sporadically because it is so gross. No, I could do In a World without another one of these. Also, you know, we have debates going on right now about stem cell research and using parts of ourselves to heal ourselves. And if we do movies like this to show how things can go terribly wrong, how you can fuse with something else and become something that looks like an alligator testicle, then that could set that back a little bit. So I would say no.
That's a sequel right there. The alligator testicle.
Ugh, disgusting. You guys are gross.
He goes into the machine to teleport himself, and an alligator testicle falls in with him.
Exactly. He never saw it coming.
It'll look like Chet at the end of Weird Science.
All right. Well, let's hear one more clip from the original The Fly.
Those weird hairs that were growing out of your back, I had them analyzed. But they were definitely not human.
If you saw how scared and angry and desperate he is.
I'm sure Typhoid Mary was a very nice person, too, when you saw her socially.
No!
You're afraid to be destroyed and recreated, aren't you?
You're changing, Seth. Everything about you is changing.
Oh, no. What's happening to me? Am I dying?
I want to know what's going on.
What does the disease want?
It wants to turn me into something else. Oh, no. A fly got into the transmitter pod with me that first time when I was alone. Don't go back to it. It could be contagious.
I'm afraid!
Don't be afraid!
No. Be afraid. Be very afraid.
Help me. Please, help me.
Okay, so here's what we know about the intended remake, which is currently in the works. Several attempts at both sequels and remakes have been attempted over the years, including Flies, which would have starred Geena Davis, pretending her character wasn't dead in the original sequel, and directed by her then-husband, Rennie Harlan. That would have been weird, having a movie to a sequel directed by your new husband that used to star your old husband. I don't know what the hell's that's about. So Fox they have worked out a deal with director J.D. Dillard and his writing partner, Alex Thurer, who collaborated on a movie called Slight, and they're going to take the property in a different direction. And like Jason said, they turned down Cronenberg's version, so I'll be curious to see where they go with that.
So wait, you just said they're going to take it in a different direction. Do you know anything about what they're going to do?
They haven't said what they're going to do yet. They just said that Cronenberg's version, like you said, was not the way that they wanted to go. So since this movie is getting a remake, and as fans, we think we know the best way to do it, how should Hollywood remake it? All selections are settled by a best of 3 votes. If we debate on anything, best of 3 decide it, unless one of the hosts yells cut, and if they yell cut, they get to change whatever that topic is. Okay, are you guys ready to remake a movie, right?
We are.
Okay, who wants to throw out their idea first? Jason, you seem most excited because Courtney's over there hiding her notebook. So
okay,
why don't you go?
Well, Courtney's gonna hate mine because because what makes this movie sort of unique is how gross it is. I want to up the gross factor by like 10.
I'm listening.
So I think I'm just gonna get right to where I totally veered off. So actually, no, I lied. So I'm gonna have Seth and Ronnie still be the main characters, but Ronnie, instead of being a reporter, she's coming. She works for the investors, and she's coming to check and see what Seth is doing because they don't want to just keep giving him money for no reason. And they kind of hit it off, but he's trying to show her things that are unrelated to the teleportation because he doesn't want to reveal that and have them get their hands in it yet. But she finds out about it, and she ends up being the one going through instead of him. And the reason why I like that, I mean, should I not jump to it later?
No, you can do your whole pitch now if you want.
Do the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So the whole thing with her acting erratically, and at first it's exciting, but then it gets kind of scary, and maybe she convinces him to start taking more money, but revealing what he's doing so they can go to a bigger, better finance lab that looks all fancy with more equipment and stuff like that. And they can do all these teleportation things and gross out stuff with different live things and whatever, but eventually she's going to turn into a monster and terrorize everyone, and just the grossness is going to go off the scale, at which point she may actually go down into the sewer and start feasting, which is what flies do. Yeah. Or she might, this is the really bad part, she's going to at some point lay a bunch of eggs.
Oh my God.
and then but a little bit more positive is Seth figures out that if he can run her through the machine and reverse the process, that he'll separate her DNA, and then that succeeds. But then all of the larvae hatch into hundreds of fly monsters that buzz all around the city, attacking everyone.
Damn! You went full monster movie on this bad boy.
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly how to end that with just the attack. That seems pretty grim, but that's as far as I got.
That's bold.
We like grim here on Remake.
Yeah, I like it. That's pretty cool. All right, so Courtney, what's your idea? You or me? You choose.
Well, I'll go ahead and go. Mine is wildly different. Not different from the original, but
I don't know.
Not different from the original, just different from what you just did.
I like raining hell with fly monsters. I think that's kind of cool.
That is really intriguing. I can't wait to hear yours, Aaron. You usually go dark, so this is going to be good.
That's pretty dark, yeah.
So in my version, Veronica is not a journalist. She works for the government, and she is older, and she works for a mysterious government agency, and she recruits Seth straight from his master's program because she is actually working on teleportation as part of her secret project. So he comes onto her team. He develops a crush on her because he is awkward, as he is in the original movie. Maybe he doesn't have a whole lot of experience with girls. And she kind of is friendly with him, but he sees her maybe socializing one night with one of the other students and, gets the idea that they're actually together. So he gets drunk and he gets his little feelings hurt, like in the original, and he goes into the booth. And much of the same things happen, but in this version, she's the one who sort of starts to see the positives of this situation, and she turns a little bit evil. You see that she's actually kind of evil, and she wants to keep him alive, and she wants to test him, and she wants to figure out how to expand this because she's seeing military potential here. Because they're stronger, they're more agile, they're faster, they can see in, all different directions. They can walk along the walls and on the ceilings. So she's seeing dollar signs, but he, in the end, is the one who actually winds up ending his own life because he sees what she's trying to do.
Oh, interesting. All right. You guys both obviously want to make Veronica awful. I just want to point that out.
Well, if you really look into his version, it's like a metaphor for marriage.
Yeah.
Because she goes through this change after this thing happens and she becomes this horrible hell beast.
I like it. I'm not going to lie. Maybe because I'm married, I get it.
Sage nod.
It's not her fault.
She has the babies and becomes a hell beast.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
And I forgot to mention that she turns into an actual fly. I just want to make sure that's clear.
Well, of course. Yeah, of course. All right. Well, you ready for mine?
All right, Aaron, give it to us.
Mine is way on left field. I went with a completely different idea. Same core concept, but different idea. So NASA has finally found a planet suitable for terraforming and habitation. Okay, so we're obviously in the future. Unfortunately, I think that you have a budget and the equipment restraints have made it really difficult to populate the area with enough skilled workers to sustain the project. So Scarlet Brundle comes along, and she's a scientist tasked with the more expeditious path to get from Earth to Planet X and back. She believes she's created the perfect solution, a teleportation system that can transport an entire warehouse from Earth to the distant planet instantaneously. Okay, everybody with me? You make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so NASA's unsure if this solution's fathomable, so they order Scarlet to conduct additional animal trials, but she already believes that she's nailed the process of distinguishing biological beings from non-living items on a molecular level, so instead, she wants to expedite the approval phase. So she puts herself in the teleporter and zips herself off to this other planet. Of course, it's in a location that's very big, and in a location that big, even when it's being sanitized, a fly can find its way in. So once she gets to this other planet, she seems perfectly fine at first. So immediately she informs her colleagues. Of course, originally they're upset that she even did this on her own, but then they're excited because now they can move this project forward finally back on Earth. So they plan on starting the first round of human transfers. The other scientist on Planet X, is just what I'm calling it, is led by Victor, who is not a love interest. And he starts to see changes in Scarlet, similar to Goldblum's changes, stamina, reflexes. She seems more alive, attributed kind of to an opposite jet lag effect. And unlike the 86 version, though, when she begins to change into a human-fly hybrid, this change happens very fast. It's like within 24 hours. It's not 4 weeks and 6 days, whatever that number was. And as it happens, she begins methodically killing any who attempt to stop her until all of her scientific staff on site are dead. Horribly dead. And she can turn into a total fly when she's all done. I don't care. So Scarlet she's left to herself, and as we get to the end, she makes a full transformation into the monster of sorts. And as we begin to kind of fade out, a video communication from Earth is overheard. NASA has 1,000 people, and they're all ready to be transferred to Planet X. They're right there in the warehouse. You see in Scarlet's movements, even as the monster, that she knows this means certain horrible death to everyone that comes through, but she has no way to warn them because she's fully a monster. The movie ends.
Wait, I thought she was already just in full-on kill mode, though.
She was, but like once she has a little bit like a tinge of humanity, like Goldblum had that tinge of humanity at the end of the original. She has that, like she catches the message and it hits her what's left, that little semblance of what's left of humanity in her. It catches her, and that stops her for a minute to realize, oh my God, they're all going to die.
Okay.
So that was mine.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now we gotta figure out whose idea we want to go with. Who likes whose idea better than their own?
I'm going to say that I love the idea of, well, both of you have Brundle as a female. I really love the idea of her laying eggs. I think that's awesome. I think that the movie ending with just a shot of the egg stores, and either they could, in Jason's version, they could, be left in the sewer somewhere to grow up and terrorize everybody, or Aaron, in your version, she could lay the eggs and send the eggs back through the teleporter to Earth.
Hey.
That would be pretty rude.
Hey. Hellfire fly monsters in the transporter back to Earth. Oh.
Yeah. Like maybe it's something where because the distances are so long and the communication is such that you can just tell there's a life form there ready to be transported.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go, okay, ready to transport 500 or something like that.
Oh. Oh. I can't tell which way. So which one were you like on both of our idea, or are you merging the two? Is that what you were doing?
I was just saying that I love the egg idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think, Aaron, your idea is more interesting and different than mine is a little bit just kind of similar to the original movie with the sexes reversed. So I really do like the idea of exploring the implications of teleportation a little bit more than just doing it in the same room there.
And Aaron, your idea gives us a really good reason for the teleportation. There's a need because Earth is inhabitable or for whatever reason. There's an urgent need for it. So we got to do it.
Ooh, and that would be even more grim because if they send them back to Earth and Earth's already like in danger of dying, and you have all these fly monsters we're sending back to eradicate what's left of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This teleportation is Earth's last hope for survival. There's, maybe, I don't know, 1/8 of the people left on the planet for whatever reason. And then she sends the eggs back and it's game over.
Except I think they should be giant maggots.
Oh, Jesus.
We were with you, man. Come on.
Yeah, you're pushing it too far, dude.
Take it to the logical extreme.
That's really funny. Okay, so we've got a little bit of both of ours. Did you get any of yours in the mix then? If we go that route?
I'm looking at my notes here.
I know you don't care because you don't want it remade anyway. You're like, I don't want it remade anyway.
I dig the one we've got going on, actually. So I'm okay if none of my remake makes it in there. I had some good casting for mine, but I can make it work for this new one. But I think this is a better choice. I think necessity is the mother of invention, and this would be a good story.
So she gets pregnant when she gets to the other planet, and her eggs are laid like basically where it would transport, and it notifies NASA that there's a transport ready to be made back to them, and they initiate it.
So is Victor the one who gets her pregnant? Obviously, probably, right?
Well, I guess now, yeah, somebody has to get her pregnant. Damn it. I didn't want a love interest, but Jason forced my hand.
Someone's got to do it.
Someone's got to knock that baby up.
And I think maybe whoever gets her pregnant should die in the sex act.
Oh, damn.
Now you're thinking praying mantis. Aren't they the ones who...
Yeah, I guess that doesn't necessarily fit.
She could puke on him and kill
him. Yeah. I mean, that would be... See, I don't even know if I really want to see this movie because it is horrifying, but it's horror.
Yeah, it is horror.
Yeah.
That's fine by me. It's fine by me. That's cool. All right, well, I think we got a movie. Who would be your choice for a director for a new Fly?
I had Alexandre Aja, the director of The Hills Have Eyes, for mine.
Ooh, that's good.
I thought he did gore pretty well. But now we've got gore in space, so added complication.
I haven't seen that. I need to see that. I don't know if this applies at all anymore, but I had Gore Verbinski, who did The Ring and Rango, one of my favorite animated movies. And he's done some big action like Pirates of the Caribbean that kind of got out of control. But I like him because he does visuals really well and he knows how to slow a scene down and get a moment out of it or a mood. But he can also do big, expansive action things.
Okay. I had the Duffer Brothers from Stranger Things. They do Stranger Things. I'm probably going to go with Courtney on that one. I love Aja. I can't say his name. Alexandra Aja or Aya. I don't know how you say it, but Hills Have Eyes was great. I like Mirrors a lot. High Tension is a great movie. And so I'm going to go that route. I'm going to side with her unless you want to cut.
No, I'm all for it. I've got to go watch those, but
check them out.
Sounds good.
All right. So who do you guys want for the lead? The female lead. There's, I guess, 2 leads, Scarlett and Victor.
I was going to say you need someone maybe in their mid to late 30s, someone, who's established in their scientific field. So I'm this is on the fly here because my Veronica would not have worked in my version. So I'm going to say Rosamund Pike, who was Amazing Amy in
Gone Girl. Okay. That's good.
Oh yeah, she was so good in that.
She's incredible. Yeah, she's so good.
All right, who's the other one? Victor. I'll say Peter Sarsgaard.
Oh, Yeah, I like him a lot.
I have a good proxy for Jeff Goldblum, though.
Oh, let's hear it.
Let's hear it.
Adam Driver.
Oh.
He's got the hair. Come on, he's got the hair.
Get that whininess out of my head for him now.
I'm with Jason on that. I'm not a big Driver fan.
You know who I was
thinking? Because he has that awkwardness, that kind of awkward in his own body thing that I think Jeff Goldblum had.
I gotta kill my dad because I want to be the leader of the world. That's what I get from him. Sorry.
We'll see. Maybe that'll change.
Maybe.
Yeah. Give him a chance to save the world now. Of course, he's going to fail, but we try, right?
When I had listed out who I wanted to cast originally for Seth Brundle, I was thinking Stephen Yeun.
Oh, yeah, Glenn.
Yeah. He's not Jeff Goldblum, but I think he would be really interesting in that part if it was just a straight remake, But I don't know if it works with the new story.
I would probably go Peter Skarsgård on those, honestly. Peter would be my boy. I'm a big fan of his, and he never seems to get a solid role anymore. You know what?
I'm going to use my cut, and I'm going to go with his choice instead. Jason's choice.
Which one?
Stephen Yeun, because I really would like to see him in more stuff. I think he was awesome as Glenn, and I would like to see him have a better career, so I want to give him a chance on this.
All right.
I use my cut.
Damn.
Yay.
I guess we got a cut.
Well, bam, with the cut.
We didn't decide on the lead. I didn't throw out who my Scarlet was going to be. But we do have Stephen Yeun. So there you go. We got him another job. Winona Ryder was my pick for Scarlet. That was my pick.
That's good. I was thinking Mary Elizabeth Winstead. But I like Rosamund Pike a lot.
All right. So be it. I think we got a movie, guys. I mean, that's everything. I think we got a movie.
Sweet.
Here too. I would actually watch this one. I would watch it. I would watch it with the last 10 minutes behind my notebook like I did this first one, but I would try.
Yeah. It's got to have like pulling off fingernails and body parts falling off and stuff.
Well, yeah, it's required. Absolutely.
Yeah. All kinds of stuff like that.
Well, we do have some nostalgic. Are there any nostalgic moments that you want in this, like nods to the original that you have to have? Either one of you.
I would really like to see. I liked the scene when he was sleeping and all of a sudden he wakes up and he catches the fly in his hand. Do you guys remember that scene?
Yes.
I would
Yeah.
like to see that again.
Reminded me of
Karate
Kid.
Me too.
Yes.
Which I love. I want to see something smoky and misty, and not sure what's going to jump out of it. I feel like that's pretty key. And I think the teleportation tech should kind of evoke those pods because they're so visually unique.
Yeah.
Are you guys going to campaign for a naked squatting pose from Rosamund Pike? Come on, I'm ready for it. I'm sure you are.
Now that you mention it.
Maybe I'd rather have one from Stephen Yeun. How about that?
Oh.
I like diversity. You know what I'm saying?
I want a whole squadron of squatters.
I want a whole squadron of dangerous fly demon squatters. That's what I want.
That's the pose they're all going to hit. The larvae are all going to hit when they go in the teleportation pod to get sent back to Earth.
The main thing I want both catchphrases from the previous movies incorporated somewhere. The be afraid, be very afraid, and the help me in some. They don't have to be said.
Help me. Yeah, it's got to.
Yeah, definitely those. That's it, and maybe some donuts, huh? Donuts, delicious donuts that people throw up on.
I cannot think
cream
of donuts
cream
right
filled.
Oh,
that's wrong. I'm having a hard time. Having a hard time moving on from that. But here's one more clip from the original, The Fly.
Why'd you scare her off? Jealous?
You're changing, Seth. Everything about you is changing. You look bad. You smell bad.
I've never been much of a bather.
Those weird hairs that were growing out of your back, I took them to a lab. I had them analyzed.
The hairs? The hairs? Oh. Yeah, that's a strange thing to do.
Not as strange as the results. The guy at the lab had trouble identifying them. He finally came to the conclusion that they were definitely not human.
Oh, very good.
Not human, Seth. In fact, very likely insect hairs.
That's silly. That's ridiculous.
Look. Now there's more. Look at your face. Something happened when you went through, Seth. You've got to get some help. I think you must be sick.
You're jealous! I've become free. I've been released, and you can't stand it. You'll do anything to bring me down. Look at me. Does this look sick? Does this look like a sick man to you?
No! Stop it!
Are there any sick men who can do that? Come here.
Help!
Wheels up! I don't need you anymore.
Okay, now we are at our final pitch. That's where we wrap everything up in a nice little trailer, parody trailer, delivered by Wayne Henderson, courtesy of MediaVoiceovers.com. Now, are you guys ready to hear Wayne Henderson's version of our film in movie parody trailer form?
Let's do it.
Can't wait.
All right, here you go. Take it away, Wayne.
Earth is dying. With our only salvation a light year away, NASA needs to identify a solution before civilization finds itself extinct. Scarlet Brundle believes she has solved the crisis. By creating a teleportation system capable of transporting thousands to a distant, habitable planet all at once, Earth's inhabitants might finally have a chance for survival. As she puts herself through her final test, something goes wrong. Hey, did you guys hear that buzzing? Was it in the booth or what? Just me? Okay, never mind. After Scarlett's successful teleportation, she begins to feel different. Her energy increases. Her stamina is off the charts. Her partner and lover, Victor, feels that somehow things are wrong. Very, very wrong. As Scarlett completes her horrific metamorphosis, no one is safe, especially on Earth. Don't miss the film critics won't stop buzzing about, as Rosamund Pike and Stephen Yeun lead a science fiction classic into the future. Humanity is about to receive a special delivery. Be afraid. Be very afraid of the Fly.
Great job, Wayne. Great job.
Yeah.
That movie's going to be awesome.
Awesome.
I would totally see it. Before we close the show out, we'd like to share any listener thoughts on potential remake, and we had a couple that came in before we started this episode. One is from Jeff Gentry. He said he would like to see scientists discover a crashed alien ship and start figuring out how the technology works. They find no shuttles or escape pods on the ship, only a pod that turns out to be a matter transporter. The lead scientist is obsessed with it, while the rest of the team moves on. He ends up taking the pod to his workshop and messes with it. Over time, he builds a second pod and gets them to work, but his first human test goes wrong, and he and a fly get merged. I like that, Jeff. That's an interesting
Another
way to do
space
it.
angle.
Yep, another space angle. Dave McGraw says, I would tell it from the fly's point of view. I would... like this. I flew into this closet because I caught a whiff of fresh dead baboon, and now I look like that schmuck from Jurassic Park. Just came for the food. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's horrifying. Where's my body? What? I can't fly.
Oh, my God. And Peter Dennis just wanted to say he'll always remember that scene from the end of the original, Help Me, Help Me. Thank God someone remembers it. I thought I was alone. That's good. Okay, well, that's going to do it for this episode of Remake This Movie Right. Why don't you tell people where they can find you, sir, Jason?
You can find me at podcastica.com.
Are all of your podcasts, you're doing like 64 now, are they all there?
Yeah, I do. That's my network. And I have Walking Dead, Evil Dead Cast for Ash vs. Evil Dead, which is fantastic, by the way.
Love that show.
American Gods, which is also amazing. And what else? Legion we're doing, which, I mean, all these shows are just incredible. There's too much to watch, but if you go to Podcastica right now, you'll get a pretty good idea of the kind of things I'm into, which are dark but very intelligent and rich shows.
All right. And Courtney, where can people find you? Are you on the Twitter at all yet?
I am on the Twitter, but I barely do anything on the Twitter. You can most often find me on the Facebook group, kicking up trouble and shaking my head at the rest of you guys' crazy opinions.
All right, and you can find me here at Remake This Movie Right. You can find me at thehollywoodoutsiders.com. I also do 2 companion podcasts for TV shows, The Blacklist Exposed and Beyond Westworld. And Wayne Henderson MediaVoiceovers.com. That's MediaVoiceovers.com. And you know what? I'm sorry. Troy makes me say this. The award-winning Blacklist Exposed. There you go.
Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Every time someone says award-winning, I feel like I want to hear a cha-ching sound.
I should do that. I should start doing that. Hollywood Outsiders award-winning too now. We just won an award. Damn it.
Cha-ching.
Exactly.
Multi-decorated. You need a jacket with like some stripes or something on it.
That's enough.
You're going to get like an EGOT or something? Is that what they of all the podcasts?
I'll get a sculpture. Subscribe and review us via Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, your podcast app of choice. Our email, once again, is remakethismovieright@gmail.com, and we're on Twitter @RemakeRight, and our website is remakethismovieright.com. Please share the show with your friends. Thank you both for being here. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. It was a blast.
Have some cappuccino.
I'm going to have a donut.
Can you imagine in 1986, a donut and a cappuccino would get Gina Davis to come over? Who knew?
Because that was fancy.
I wish I would have known that in the 80s, man. I was coming up. I could have just bought one of those.
She would have put on her finest stockings.
Mm-hmm. And just bang on my piano as soon as I get a girl home.
Wait, what? What would you do? That's hysterical.
Is that what the kids are calling it?
It's impressive.
All right. The credits have rolled on this remake. Be sure to come back for the next one. And remember that every film you love will get a reboot someday, and only you can remake that movie right.